5:30. I've been there since about 4 a.m. delivering a patient. And what an auspicious occasion, because you know what today also is? New Fighter Orientation Day. That's correct. So I'm already stoked, having accomplished something super fun and cool for the day, but now equally exciting, I get to go meet a bunch of Buhurt enthusiasts. If you're like me and you're new to the sport and you're excited about it, you've probably talked to a whole lot of people, and the vast majority of those people are like, oh, that's cool. I love that for you. They just don't get it. So the chance to go just hog wild and enjoying and basking in this crazy new sport. Really looking forward to it. So the day's off to a great start. We rolled up to a park in Idaho Falls about 45 minutes from my house. And these guys from the Boise Club had driven 3 or 4 hours to help the Idaho Falls Club set up this little event and gathering for us. They had put out display tables, filled them with their armor and their weapons, their shiniest toys, and like offspring in a retail space for sweet confectionaries, we went wild. We swung swords, we brandished bucklers, we asked about axes, we hefted halberds. I hope you're appreciating the alliteration that's going on here. We also tried on a couple of helms that made us feel low-key top-heavy. Let me know in the comments below if I used low-key correctly. We bashed imaginary foes upside their imaginary heads for a good long while, all while waiting for other participants to show up. But how did we get to this spot in the first place? Well, I will explain how we found our club and how you can find your nearest club as well. So recall that we went to the Pocatello Fantasy Fair, my family and I, and had a great time. Well done, Pocatello. And I, like so many people, had my first exposure to this sport at the Fantasy Fair. And I was thrown to learn that nay, it was not mere spectacle, spectacular as it was, but it was real combat, an actual sport where nerding out in cool armor is required, not simply encouraged, but required. So after connecting with the fighters there, they shared information and the date of their upcoming new fighter orientation. And here we are. If you don't have Ren fairs where you are, because your city isn't cool enough to nerd out like that, well, never fear. You can simply go online to Night Finder or armoredcombatsports.com, and you will find, based on your location, a list of clubs that are nearest you. Now back to new fighter orientation. Once enough people had arrived, they gathered us around and gave us a little spiel / introduction to the sport, who they were, how they got into it a little bit, and what the different fighting styles look like, and the different events. So they explained that there are a lot of people who just do it casually to go to the Ren fairs where they have fun. And there are clubs that like to compete very seriously. They'll train hard and go to national and international tournaments. They let us ask questions, and those range from, how likely are injuries? Not as likely as you might think, because the armor works. How much is it to get new armor? A new set will cost you around $2,000 if it's basic, cheaper if used, more expensive if you go titanium. How nerdy do you gotta be? There is a wide range of nerd hobbies, and I'll have a dedicated episode about that, as well as how athletic do you need to be. But you gotta at least think the armor's cool, and you gotta be more athletic than you might think. Conditioning is a big part of it. Carrying around that heavy armor really gets exhausting.
One question I had was, how inclusive is this club and the sport in general of the LGBTQ community? Because inclusivity is a really strong, important value for my family and I. And suffice it to say, they gave a very satisfactory answer. I'll probably do a short video on this topic later as well. But suffice to say, no matter how you are welcome here. Next came one of the more exciting parts, and the most enthusiastic among the crowd, myself, got to suit up in some full armor, or near enough. I put on roughly 70% of the armor. This one other bloke who was there, he did put on pretty much the entire suit, and we got to spar a little bit with each other. So enjoy the rest of the suit up montage. Just me getting a feel for how heavy this stuff is. I was very surprised, despite knowing intellectually that it would be heavy.
Even my son got in some armor, and I had the awesome realization that while he may not look like much now, in a few years when he's 18, we will be able to fight together. We can go to tournaments, and imagine how fun that'll be. Father and son suited up in knight armor, competing for fun and for glory.
Now go ahead and watch how friends are made in Buhurt. My daughter is going to be so proud that her papa made a friend at the park.
I bowed because of years of conditioning in judo. I can't face an opponent without bowing to them.
I did ask if we could take a really hard headshot with a steel gauntlet or one of the weapons, but I learned it's kind of a rite of passage and not considered very polite to use someone else's armor with the intent to put a dent in it. So you'll have to stick around until the day I finally get my own armor, and you can see me take all kinds of shots to the head.
Yep. How do you feel?
Here my son asks a very astute question, which is very like him.
He said, "Are you having second thoughts on Buhurt?" And
Second thoughts on doing Buhurt?
if I'm being honest,
Still lends
after
itself.
coming off of 2-3 hours of sleep, heading up there, putting on that ridiculously heavy armor, and trying to move around in it, I did have a moment of doubt. I did. But then I went home. I took a 6 or 7 hour nap. Some people call that sleeping. And when I woke up,
The first thought that came to me in this accent was, get me a sword. I need to wallop some tires.
so I'm back. I'm very excited to get into the sport
and continue to chronicle these little adventures. Next episode will be my first team practice. We'll be heading to the local team leader's house just to do some drills and simple training in his yard. So stick around if you want to see me try my first Pel workout and first glimpse of team melee strategies and techniques.